Are we starting this already? Oh no. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. To say it's been a minute is probably a bit of an understatement. I think the last video came out about 2 years ago at this point, and today's video is going to dive a little bit into the reasoning for that, but also give a little bit of an update on sort of the future plans for what I've got going here on the channel. So as many of you have probably seen, the last video to come out was the custom ring box that I made to propose to my now wife. Obviously, during that time, I felt it was really necessary to just step away from all of the extracurricular, YouTube and Instagram stuff that I was doing and focus solely in on wedding planning, as well as for our honeymoon that we had thereafter. Really take the time to just soak in all of the special moments that that period of our lives offered. But also during that time, shortly after the proposal, I think it was about February of 2023, we began a renovation top to bottom here at the house on the interior that required all of us to pack up and move out to a temporary house while everything was getting done here. So during that time, I also had to pack up the shop as the garage here became a staging ground for a lot of the materials that were being used on the renovation. So I packed everything up, we moved it over to the temporary house, and I did set up a temporary workshop space within the garage that we were lucky enough to have at the temporary house. But due to some of the logistical challenges of that space, I didn't get back into making videos or working on things that I felt worth posting, mainly because it was just difficult to work in. Also, because it was a temporary space, didn't really work on projects that I felt were worthy of making a video for. A lot of the work that I was doing was just kind of keeping my hands busy, as well as if a friend or a family member needed to come in, use the shop for a project that they were working on, I was happy to help them with that as well. But for the most part, I wasn't really doing anything big that I felt was worthy of making a video for. But as all things come to an end, the renovation finishing up, we were getting ready to move back here, I started thinking again about how I wanted to set up this space moving forward. The opportunity to come back in and reset the shop in a new way, new fashion, expanding it a bit and everything, provided a very unique opportunity to just rethink the space and start setting things up in a more finite fashion, whereas before I was setting things up as I went, but knew that ultimately it was going to be a temporary setup. So as I said, this is a really unique opportunity to sort of replan, reset, restructure the entire workshop space here in the garage. I really want to try and change things up to optimize not only the workflow, but also to improve upon being able to shoot videos and things like that in here as well. Already, I've done a few groundwork items, such as we were moving everything in here, took the opportunity to expand the workshop space, give myself a little bit more room for some larger projects. I also installed some new lighting. Before, I only had one single light bulb stationed above my table saw, and that provided for some kind of not great lighting here in the shop. Obviously, as we were moving back in, first opportunity I had was to change out the lighting. Already it's improved things drastically, and there's just a lot better lighting in here in general. I've also begun working on some drywall repair. A lot of the things that were going on in here in general wasn't the greatest, and knowing that this is basically my backdrop, I definitely like to go through, patch it up, make it look clean, kind of refresh it a little bit, especially before I start putting in any sort of like cabinetry or things of that nature as well. Started in the back of the garage just to kind of clean that up and help work my way forward. So this area is not done yet, but I'll be getting to that here soon. A couple more groundwork things that I need to get done here are adding proper electrical, as for the longest time, even before we moved, I've been working off of one single outlet on the other side of the garage, running an extension cord to power everything that I'm working with here in the shop. It's not a really good long-term solution. I've definitely blown a few fuses. So moving back in, I'm going to set things up the right way and give myself a breaker in the breaker box for the entire shop space from the get-go. So that way it's all run properly. And then another fun thing that I'm going to be working on here, hopefully soon, is a partition wall along the backside of the workshop. That'll help just kind of encapsulate this space a little bit better, provide a nice hard boundary to work within, and also give me another wall to mount things up. But definitely just setting that up will help dramatically set up this space a little bit better. And then once that's all set up, we can get to the fun stuff. And let me show you what I've got going for the plan of that. So this is my workshop planning model. As you guys can see, this is still a work in progress, but right now I just wanted to share a little bit of where I'm at and give a sense of the overall vibe that I'm working towards. Going through a little bit of the overview, as you guys can see, it's trying to imitate as much of the garage as possible. I've got a representative model of my brother-in-law's car who parks in the garage, as well as some of the utilities, the washer, dryer, water heaters, our electrical panel for the lower half of the house in there, as well as some of the bike storage that we're doing in the back of the garage, just to give an overall sense of how the rest of the areas of the garage interact with the workshop itself. But getting rid of a couple of these models here, we can start diving into the workshop space itself. So starting with the back of the shop, on the partition wall in the back, I've got some upper cabinet storage as well as a dedicated miter saw station. Obviously, I'm really trying to be intentional about improving the overall storage space in the workshop. And so I think having some upper cabinet storage as well as really improving upon the lower cabinet storage and just cabinets in general is going to help with that goal. I'm also working on the idea of the miter saw station. I think it'll really improve workflow. I still need to model in the miter saw cabinet itself. And actually, right before I started recording, I just had a thought of changing out the intended space down here underneath into more of a tool garage for the planer. Moving into the corner, at the moment, I've just got the idea of doing a clamp storage rack area, keeping all my clamps in this area, but who knows, that space may change. Moving along the sidewall here, as I said, really trying to emphasize the storage and adding a set of new cabinets along the bottom that will hold a lot of tools as well as other supplies that I may be using throughout the shop. It also gives me a good surface to mount some of the smaller stationary tools such as the drill press, bandsaw, not really pictured here, but my belt sander as well, just so I'm not having to move these around into place on the workbench when I need to use them. Going on the back wall here, not modeled, is what I'm thinking of at the moment, a French cleat wall or something along those lines, as well as a centerpiece project that for some reason is not showing right now, of building an LED lit version of my logo as sort of a backdrop piece, but really excited to kind of envision this space a little bit more. Then where this little planer model is right now, I'm starting to think of as more a wood storage location. I didn't really have that planned out originally when I was building out this model. So I think this will be a good space for that. And then that brings us to the center of the workshop where I've currently got a table saw modeled in and the space for my new workbench that I'm building. And actually, while I'm at it, I should take note of the fact that I do not have any of my current shop furniture modeled in this new version of the workshop. And that was pretty intentional, as going through, it was definitely difficult to box myself in with the current workshop furniture. And so allowing myself to completely start from scratch allowed me to be more intentional with how I set things up, a little bit cleaner to work in and more intentional. You can produce some better projects, and that's really what the vibe that I'm trying to go for in this is. And so yeah, that's kind of how I wanted to lay out the shop. So as you can see, a lot of really exciting things happening here in the near future for what I'm calling DIY with Ride 2.0. A lot of the workshop stuff obviously is going to take a lot of time. I'm still working on some of the design, trying to figure things out and things of that nature. So while that's going on, I'm also going to be working on some other projects here and there. I've got a coffee table to build, an awning to replace, a small raised deck area that I need to build. So a lot of that stuff is going to be happening kind of concurrently with the workshop rebuild. So be on the lookout for that as well. That's about it for this one though. I wanted to just share a little bit about where I've been, what's been going on, as well as kind of give you guys an update of what I'm thinking moving forward here on the channel. Also, at the very end here, just wanted to stop and take a second to thank all of you for your patience and support. It really means a lot to me, especially the 250 or so of you that subscribed to this channel when I was doing absolutely nothing to maintain it. makes me think I'm doing something right. So I really appreciate the support, and that's enough talking. Stay safe out there. I'll see you guys next time.